I just watched Thor Ragnarok, which is the third Thor film and the 17th in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's by Taika Waititi, who is a director who I really like. I really enjoyed his films Boy and What We Do in the Shadows, and so I think I, with a bunch of other people, were a bit nervous when he took on a major studio film, a big blockbuster, because he's so good at small scale emotional indie films that it may be, especially at a time where phase 1 and 2 of the MCU were very formulaic, and Edgar Wright had left Ant-Man because they weren't letting him do any of his vision. They were just, and Ant-Man is, it's more comedic than the other ones, but the end product was still very MCU, very phase 2. And hey, who cares about Zack Snyder's Justice League? I want to see Edgar Wright's Ant-Man, although he didn't film a frame of it. But I was a bit nervous that they'd just completely take any vision out of it. But no, I think, yes, it is still, it's very MCU. I think maybe Guardians of the Galaxy started away and mixed up the format a bit. You can't go on for too long doing the same thing over and over again because people just get bored of it. And so this is definitely a Taika Waititi film. It's written by Eric Pearson, who did some uncredited rewrites on Spider-Man Homecoming and Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and he would go on to write the screenplay for Black Widow, which isn't out yet, but I'm looking forward to. And it's also co-written with Craig Kyle and Christopher Yost, who are two comic book writers who they did stuff like create the character of X-23, who's Laura from Logan, and they've done comic stuff. But I think you very much get the impression that from the story would have been them, but I think a lot of the dialogue, besides the exposition, is Taika Waititi, and it's very improv heavy. Lots of the jokes are. It's clearly his input, and I mean they're not writing the fourth film. It's going to be Taika Waititi and someone else. So this film reminds me a lot of Flash Gordon, which is a film I really like, the 1980 film. It's kind of camp, it's kind of it's comedic, it's light-hearted, it's a sci-fi where everything is ridiculous. And about a year ago, they actually announced that Taika Waititi was going to be doing a Flash Gordon remake, and I was so glad when that was cancelled. Oh my god, that would have been horrendous, because there's nothing wrong with the original, the 1980 film. Like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You can't improve on perfection, and it would just be Ragnarok. We've seen that. I don't want to see that same thing again. I think maybe a negative of this film actually is the villains are terrible. I think Hela is incredibly weak, and obviously Surtur is just appalling. He is just, but I think that fits the whole Flash Gordon type aesthetic, the whole classic campy sci-fi. In the Emperor Ming from Flash Gordon is just, he's not even one-dimensional. He's a half-dimensional character who just wants to, enslave and rule the galaxy and kill people, and I feel like that's just what both the villains in this film are like. But I think it fits although it's a shame. I mean, in the whole MCU there's maybe Thanos is really good, Killmonger's good, I quite liked the Vulture, and there's not many others. There's probably a couple. I guess Loki's alright, but hey, I think it works for the genre. Something else that I think Taika Waititi is really great at, but I think was lacking in this film, is there's not really any emotion. Lots of bad stuff happens to Thor. I won't ruin it if anyone hasn't seen it, even though probably everyone has. But he just tells his emotions. You never see him. He doesn't actually seem like he particularly cares. He's still cracking jokes. He's still, I don't know. I don't feel like it has the same emotional weight as films like Boy and Jojo Rabbit were going to have. So yeah, like I said, I think we were all kind of nervous when Taika Waititi decided to do this after his previous films. But Jojo Rabbit has proven that he can get straight back. I mean, that's not indie anymore. It's Fox Searchlight. It's quite mainstream. And actually, I mean, this film made him more mainstream, so it's kind of was good in the end. But yeah, he's definitely still got it. That's a film that I've seen, I think, 4 or 5 times, potentially 6. I mean, I really like it. It's emotional. It's funny. It's a film as opposed to this is a movie. And then now he's doing Thor 4, so he can clearly do both. And I thought in this film, I think the accents aren't very good. I think Tessa Thompson is specifically who I mean. She sounds very uncomfortable talking in that voice. I think the pronunciations are pretty much fine, but it's just she seems like she's put a lot of effort into it, and she just seems, it doesn't feel like it comes naturally from her mouth at all. It was a little bit better in Endgame, but it wasn't that much better. So yeah, like I said, the humour's really great. I think Korg is the best in it, who's played by Taika Waititi himself. He's got some great lines. it is laugh out loud funny. I think, I mean, the Guardians of the Galaxy definitely paved the way for this, and so the fact that Thor: Love and Thunder is going to be with the Guardians of the Galaxy, I think is a very natural thing. Hulk's really good in it, although I don't really know why. He's got like this auto-tune voice. He sounds a bit like T-Pain, and I really don't know why they did that. I mean, it's quirky, but as a creative decision, it's a bit weird. He's like, no banner, only Hulk. I think this is better than Civil War, and so I think the fact that those two weren't in Civil War, and now they've just got like a little movie on the side from that huge blockbuster, which is basically Avengers 3 or Avengers 2.5. And yet this is better. I think fair play to them. Like they're the underdogs, and especially since Thor 1's all right. Thor 2 is really boring, and so this film completely redoes the format, completely reinvents the whole. There are issues with it, but I'd still give it 5 stars. It's probably a low 5 stars, but it's within that bracket. Definitely, I'd say it's definitely top 5 MCU films, potentially top 3. I think Infinity War and Endgame I really love. All the best ones come from Phase 3, I think, pretty much. I mean, Phase 1 and 2 are good, but they're very formulaic, whereas 3 is really when they're like, we have to mix things up if we're going to carry on. Phase 4 could maybe take it over. I mean, so far all we've had is 8 episodes of WandaVision, but I'm loving that show. If they can stick the landing, then, you know, who knows what Phase 4 will do. But no, I'll give it 5 stars. It's really good.